Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.
Welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning. And today we're talking about faking it because I decided a couple of weeks ago for fun, this is what I do for fun, to Google confidence challenge at work and see what comes up. Obviously, there's loads of advice out there. And the first hit that I got on page 1 says, and I quote, in a workplace context, faking it till you make it can be helpful if you're trying to overcome feelings of self-doubt. If you're feeling underconfident, try using language that outwardly portrays a sense of self-confidence. And that made me pretty mad. I'm not going to lie. In fact, I've read that about 10 times and I'm still pretty mad when I read it now. Because, quite frankly, what a load of absolute bollocks. Faking it till you make it is not good advice. I've said this before and I'll say it again. When I was a lawyer, I gave people advice. That was my job. And if I'd given them that kind of advice, they would have been well within their rights to actually just sue me because it's shit advice. So if there are people online, maybe there's even confidence coaches online who are peddling you this advice, you should fake it until you make it. Believe me when I say to you, this is bad advice. And you know what? You do not have to think very hard to find it inside your soul and know that you know deep down. Even if you've been swimming in this advice your entire professional career, you do not have to look far to realize that it's bad advice. And you already know that it's bad advice. Because if it was good advice, wouldn't it be working? Wouldn't it have worked by now? If faking it was all it took, everybody would be feeling confident. Nobody would be Googling confidence challenge anymore because it would have worked. Because, let's be right, we're all trying it. You've tried it, I've tried it, we've all tried it. Faking it's our natural go-to when we don't feel confident. We just pretend. And has it worked? No. Now, there may be the odd instance where you just have to do something 20 times in order to feel confident. And until you've done something 20 times, you can just pretend that you are confident. Now, question whether or not you actually need to do that. Does anyone need you to pretend to be confident or to pretend to look confident? You're going to be like, yes, Anna, everybody needs me to do that. My team need me to do that. My organization needs me to do that. My client needs me to do that. Everyone expects me to look confident. It's like, all right, I'm not going to argue with you on that one. That ain't worth the battle. But what is worth the battle is this. Helping you to realize, for the love of God, that faking it does not work to build confidence. All faking it does is cover up the fact that you aren't feeling confident. Now, if you were looking for a solution for how to look confident, faking it may be a good answer. Maybe even in that instance, it's not the worst advice anyone's ever given you. But when you're trying to figure out how to actually feel confidence, faking it is terrible advice because faking it never gets you to the real thing. All it does is keep covering up the fact that you aren't feeling confident. So I want you to imagine for a second that a relationship coach was giving the same advice as you get here on page 1 of Google. So instead of being about a professional setting, I'm going to change the language, right? So this is in the context of a relationship, and let's hear how it sounds. So that sentence would read, in a relationship context, faking it till you make it can be helpful if you're trying to overcome feelings of self-doubt. If you're feeling underconfident, try using language that outwardly portrays a sense of self-confidence. Kill me now. A relationship expert is never going to tell you this. And if they do, would you really want to be listening to them? Would you really want to be listening to a relationship expert who was like, you know how you could make your relationship better? You should fake it. No! Why would they say that? And you would never believe them. You would be like, that seems like some whack shit advice. Sorry about all the swearing today. But you would not fall for it. You'd be like, this seems a bit suspect. I don't think I'm going to listen to this person. However, when this myth, when this advice is peddled in a professional context, we all swallow it. We're like, yes, that seems to be good advice. I think I'll believe it. It's like an urban myth, one that everybody believes is true. Putting it into a relationship context just actually shows up what shit advice it is. And if you fell for fake it till you make it, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Everybody fell for it. We all fell for it. Because that's what you're told. That's what you find on the first hit when you Google professional confidence challenge. Fake it. That's the advice. That's the advice that people give you. That's what people say. Everybody knows that's what you're supposed to do, except it isn't. So don't feel bad. You know what? It's so hard to spot the lies that you're told, that you're brought up with. When you are a fish swimming in a certain kind of water, you don't even notice there's water there. You're just happily swimming like everybody else. But let me tell you, if faking it actually worked, I would not have a job. If faking it actually helped you to feel confident, to be confident, there would be no me. There would be no podcast. There would be no need for any of this. You would not be listening to this. You'd be doing something entirely different instead because everybody's doing it. So if it worked, don't you think it would have worked by now? People, the emperor has no clothes. This advice does not work, has not worked, will not work, unless it is that rare example where you actually just need to do something 20 times until you feel okay about it and you just keep faking it. But if you're here listening to this podcast thinking about professional confidence, I'm going to go out on a limb and say faking it's just not going to work for you. It's terrible advice. Put it in your back drawer. Let's move on and be like, yeah, I fell for it. Everyone fell for it. But now I'm going to try something that actually might work instead. And yes, there may be that occasional moment where, you know what? You got nothing. You're actually going to have to fake it because you ain't got anything else at that point. By all means, go ahead. You know what? You'll do it anyway, naturally. You don't even need the advice. But here's what I know to be true, and I think you know to be true as well. Faking it in a relationship does not create intimacy in a relationship. Does it? You know that. I know that. We know that. Faking it in a relationship does not create anything apart from deceit, disconnection, falsehood. Fill in the blanks for me here. But you know this as well as I do. Faking it in a relationship does not create intimacy. And think of another example. You know, people portray like a happy life sometimes on social media. Everything looks good, everyone's smiling, and all the things are great, and everything looks nice, and all of that. But if it's fake, which often it is, it does not create happiness to portray happiness. Just because a social media account portrays happiness, fakes happiness, it does not create happiness for the individual. You know this. It doesn't matter how many beautiful pictures they post and how envious other people are or what anybody else thinks about their life. If they're not actually happy, faking, pretending, and portraying happiness is not the way to happiness. That's not on the path. That's just covering up the fact that they're not happy. And it's the same with confidence. faking and portraying an air and an image of confidence does not create confidence. Yeah, you might be able to fool some people. Just like I'm sure I've been fooled many times by looking at somebody else's life online and saying, oh, they look happy. Or don't they have a great life? They might have fooled me. And you might have fooled some people too. When you've been faking it, you may well have fooled loads of people. They may well think, oh, do you know, she's really got it all together. She's confident. She knows where it's at. She doesn't get ruffled. She's doing good. You may have fooled some people. I'm sure I've fooled some people before too. But fooling people isn't how confidence is created. It may be how an image, a portrayal of confidence is created. But at the end of the day, if it's fake, it ain't going to help you. Other than in that one particular moment when you have an image that you want to portray. And there's going to be particular moments where all of us have an image to portray because that's all we've got in that moment. But faking it doesn't create intimacy in a relationship. And faking happiness on a social media feed doesn't create happiness for an individual. So why would faking it and portraying an image of confidence create confidence at work? It doesn't. All it does is cover up what's actually going on. The fact that, for whatever reason, you're not feeling confident in that moment on the inside. So despite the fact that fake it till you make it is the number one piece of advice you're going to get from Google and maybe from everywhere else, trust me, you deserve better advice than that. You deserve better advice than that. Because how many years have you been faking it for? And how much more confident do you feel? It doesn't work. It isn't on the path to confidence. You know, more often than not, you have to get real instead of getting fake. Maybe that's one for another day, but hear me when I say, faking it does not create confidence at work. And if all I leave you with today is rejecting that particular piece of advice or just helping you to question it, then I'll be happy. And if you're a long-time listener to this podcast, you know what creates confidence at work. We've been through it many times in many ways, and faking it has never been one of them. If you are new to this podcast, go back and listen to episode 1, where I take you through how to actually create authentic confidence that you can feel from the inside, not an outward portrayal, an internal feeling, so you don't have to worry about the outward portrayal anymore. If you haven't yet taken the confidence assessment, there is a link in the show notes in the podcast description, and I'm going to encourage you to go and click on it and take it now. It takes you through a few simple questions designed to find out where your confidence is at the moment and to dig into the reasons why. Then you'll also receive in your email some personalized results which are going to help you determine what you need to do, the action you need to take, the things you need to change in order to develop some actual, real, authentic confidence from the inside. And guess what advice will not be on any of those emails that I send you? Yeah, you guessed it, faking it. I'm never going to give you the advice because it doesn't work. I've worked with, at this point, thousands of people to help them build their confidence. They've all been faking it. It's never worked. But I encourage you to go and take the confidence assessment if you haven't done it already. It will help you to understand what and where authentic confidence actually comes from. The inside, what's real, not and never what is fake. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next week.
Confidence, confidence, Confident, I can be confident. Confident, confident, confident.